After Lily never expected love, she just wanted peace. Living alone in a tiny cabin, she was happy with clay and quiet nights. Until a billionaire knocked on her door, freezing, desperate, and running from a life he couldn't bear anymore. What started as a simple act of kindness after turned into a love that would transform an entire town. This is the story of how a humble woman changed a rich man's world and taught a broken society what true worth. The wind howled like a wounded beast, sweeping across the mountain ridges of rural Colorado. Rain slammed against rooftops like 1,000 fists pounding in panic. Trees bent and groaned beneath the weight of the storm, their leaves flying into the night like lost prayers. Inside a modest, hand-built cabin at the edge of the woods, Lily Hartman sat barefoot near the hearth. The fire crackled beside her, casting soft golden light over the wooden walls. The scent of pine smoke mixed with the earthy fragrance of wet clay on her fingers. Her hands shaped a vase on her pottery wheel, smooth and steady, like her heart most days. Quiet, centered, content in its solitude. Outside, the night was merciless. Inside, Lily's world was a sanctuary. Small, yes, but sacred. She wore an old sweater, fraying at the sleeves, and loose linen pants dusted with clay. Her long auburn hair was tied in a messy knot, and a chipped mug of peppermint tea sat untouched beside her. The radio hummed softly in the background, an old jazz tune from another lifetime. Then a sound broke through, a sudden, urgent knock at the door. It didn't make sense. Not at this hour, not in this weather, not out here, where even the mail carrier only came twice a week. Lily froze. The knock came again. Thump, thump, thump. She turned off the wheel, wiped her hands on a towel, and stood slowly. Her heartbeat was calm, but her senses sharpened. The knock wasn't angry, but it was desperate, unmistakably human. Cautiously, she approached the door and peeked through the curtain. All she could see was a tall silhouette, soaked to the bone, standing beneath the small porch light. Rain poured from the sky in sheets. The man had no umbrella. His hair was plastered to his face. His coat, luxurious but ruined, clung to him like a second skin. She opened the door just a crack. "Hello?" she called, her voice firm but not unkind. The man looked up. He had haunted blue eyes, the kind that looked like they'd seen too much, too soon. There were no weapons, no demands, just trembling lips and chattering teeth. I'm sorry," he said, gasping for breath. "My car broke down a few miles back. I've been walking. I didn't mean to scare you. I didn't know where else to go." He didn't look dangerous. He looked lost. More than that, broken in some silent, invisible way. Lily's breath caught in her throat. She considered closing the door. A single woman in the middle of nowhere had every right to be cautious. But something deeper stirred in her. The man wasn't hiding anything. He was already undone, drenched, shivering, alone. She looked him over. Torn jacket, fine Italian leather shoes caked in mud, a gold watch on his wrist but scratched. His hands, not the hands of a laborer, but trembling like someone unaccustomed to cold or hunger. "Please," he whispered. "I just need a place to warm up. I won't stay long." She hesitated 1 second longer. Then quietly she opened the door wide. "Come in before you freeze." The man stumbled in, dripping rainwater onto the floor. His shoulders sagged with exhaustion, as if stepping inside had finally allowed him to collapse. Lily shut the door behind him and locked it, out of habit more than fear. He stood there, soaked and breathing heavily like he had just outrun the world. Lily handed him a towel. "There's a fireplace. Sit down. I'll get you something dry." He nodded, unable to speak for a moment. Then, as if remembering his manners, he said softly, "Thank you. I'm Nathan. Nathan Reid." She nodded. "Lily." He looked around, taking in the small, cozy space, shelves of books, clay sculptures, plants in the windowsill. "You live here alone?" he asked, almost reverently. "I do," she said, draping a blanket over his shoulders. He didn't ask more, and she didn't push back, not yet. Nathan warmed himself by the fire, the light dancing on his damp face. Lily brewed tea again, her fingers steady but her mind racing. She didn't know yet that this wasn't just a lost man. Nathan Reid, the name echoed in headlines just 3 days earlier. Billionaire tech CEO disappears without a trace. Nathan Reid, genius or gone. But in her quiet cabin, she had no TV, no news, no clue. To her, he was just a man, wet, weary, and somehow carrying an invisible weight heavier than the storm outside. And to Nathan, Lily's little cabin in the woods wasn't just shelter. It felt, inexplicably, like a lifeline. Like a door had opened not just into a home, but into a second chance. He didn't know how long he'd stay. She didn't know how much her life was about to change. But that night, under the sound of rain and the hush of firelight, something ancient stirred between them. Not romance, not yet. Just the fragile, flickering start of trust. The kind that begins in darkness and slowly turns into something else, something warmer, something brighter. The storm didn't pass quickly. For 2 more nights and 3 slow days, the rain poured without mercy, trapping the world under gray skies and muddy ground. Roads closed, power flickered. But the little cabin held strong, small but steady, like Lily herself. And inside, Nathan Reid, a man with a name worth billions, now lived like a stranger in hiding. He didn't tell Lily who he was. He didn't need to. The truth was too heavy to speak, and for once, it felt good to let it go. I was driving. The car gave out. I walked, was all he said. She didn't press for more. She simply gave him a towel, a dry flannel shirt, and a hot bowl of sweet potato soup that tasted like home. Eat, she said, then sleep. You've got the couch. And just like that, she offered him something money couldn't buy. Trust without conditions. Nathan had slept in penthouses, in 5-star resorts, on private jets. But that night, curled up beneath a hand-stitched quilt on a slightly lumpy couch, with the soft hum of wind outside and the fire's last embers glowing, he slept better than he had in years, trapping the world under gray skies and muddy ground. Roads closed, power flickered. But the little cabin held strong, small but steady, like Lily herself. And inside, Nathan Reid, a man with a name worth billions, now lived like a stranger in hiding. He didn't tell Lily who he was. He didn't need to. The truth was too heavy to speak, and for once, it felt good to let it go. I was driving. The car gave out. I walked, was all he said. She didn't press for more. She simply gave him a towel, a dry flannel shirt, and a hot bowl of sweet potato soup that tasted like home. Eat, she said, then sleep. You've got the couch. And just like that, she offered him something money couldn't buy. Trust without conditions. Nathan had slept in penthouses, in 5-star resorts, on private jets. But that night, curled up beneath a hand-stitched quilt on a slightly lumpy couch, with the soft hum of wind outside and the fire's last embers glowing, he slept better than he had in years. Mornings came slow in Lily's world. She rose with the sun, brewed fresh coffee, and let her dog, an old golden retriever named Sam, wander out onto the porch. Nathan stayed quiet, watching from the shadows at first, unsure of how to move in a world that didn't rush. He watched Lily as she worked, her hands dancing over the spinning pottery wheel, shaping clay with the grace of someone who knew exactly who she was. Her shelves were filled with handmade mugs, vases, bowls, each one imperfect in the most beautiful way. They weren't trying to impress anyone. Neither was she. Nathan, once known for commanding boardrooms with a single nod, now found himself drawn into quiet things. The way Lily hummed when she painted glaze, how she murmured to her dog like he was a person, the trail of clay she left on her cheek without noticing. Every detail of her life was unfiltered, and it disarmed him completely. I sell them online, she explained one day, wrapping mugs with care. People don't need much to be happy, just something made with care. Nathan nodded, though deep down he wondered, had anything in his world ever been made with care? Or had everything just been assembled for profit? Over dinner, warm lentil stew and fresh-baked bread, they began to talk. Not loudly, not quickly, but in real sentences about real things. He told her he liked the quiet here. She told him she liked being forgotten. They sat in front of the fire like old friends who'd just met. Sometimes she asked questions, simple ones, never invasive. You live in the city? I used to. What do you do? I guess you could say I'm between jobs, she laughed. Aren't we all these days? Nathan smiled a little bitterly. He had once owned companies. Now he barely knew who he was without them. One night, rain tapping gently on the windows, Lily handed him a mug of tea and said, "You know, you don't talk much about yourself." Nathan looked into the fire, his jaw tightening. "There's not much worth telling." She raised an eyebrow. "You don't strike me as someone with a boring life." He gave a soft, empty laugh. "Maybe I had too much life, and not enough of the right kind." Lily didn't push. She sipped her tea. "Well, if you ever want to talk, I'm good at listening. Sam too, but he charges a biscuit." Nathan chuckled. For a moment there was peace. That rare, bone-deep kind. The sort you don't notice until you've been without it for far too long. On the third night, as the wind calmed and the moon peeked through the clouds, Nathan sat beside Lily on the porch. They watched the mist rise from the trees. "You're not like anyone I've met," he said quietly, his voice raw with truth. She turned to him, smiling slightly. "You mean people who aren't rich and famous?" There was a long pause. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. He didn't answer. Because yes, he was rich. Yes, he was famous. And once, he had the whole world bowing to his name. But none of that meant anything here. The storm had passed, but its silence brought a different kind of tension, one that lived not in the clouds, but between two people sitting on truths too heavy to carry forever. That evening, the mountains glowed under a lavender dusk. Fog drifted like ghosts through the trees. Crickets sang in the tall grass, and the first stars peeked out over the horizon. Nathan stood outside on the porch, arms crossed, staring up at the sky like it held answers he couldn't find inside himself. Lily watched him through the screen door for a long time before stepping out with a blanket wrapped around her shoulders. "You've been out here a while," she said softly. He didn't look at her. "I needed air." The wind whispered through the pine trees. Lily leaned against the railing beside him, her breath visible in the cool air. She turned toward him, not accusing, but searching. "Can I ask you something?" He finally looked at her. "You already are." Her tone shifted, quieter now, but firm. "Who are you really, Nathan?" He inhaled slowly, exhaled even slower. For a moment she thought he might lie again. She almost hoped he would. It would be easier than the silence that followed. "You'll find out," he murmured, "eventually." That was all he said. Then he walked back inside, leaving Lily standing there under the stars, her heart louder than the crickets. That night, sleep avoided her. She sat in her studio, the fire dim, her dog curled at her feet, the pottery wheel still. Curiosity pulled at her like a tide, gently at first, then stronger. She grabbed her old laptop, dusted it off, opened the browser. Nathan Reid. She typed the name hesitantly. It didn't take long. Dozens of results flooded her screen. Headlines, photos, videos. Nathan Reid, billionaire tech mogul, missing after stepping down from Fortune 500 empire. Where is the former CEO of Stratus International? A disappearing act worth billions. Is Nathan Reid hiding or lost? There he was, in sharp suits, on stages next to presidents and prime ministers, shaking hands, launching satellites, donating millions, dominating headlines. Her heart sank, not because he was rich, but because he hadn't told her. Because now, every moment they'd shared felt like it was wrapped in a lie. The man who had helped stack firewood, the man who had fixed her broken kettle, the man who said nothing about himself while watching her paint clay in silence. That man was one of the most powerful people in the country. And she had served him soup in a chip bowl. Morning arrived, gray and slow. Nathan was sipping coffee on the porch, barefoot, wrapped in the same flannel she'd given him days ago. His hair was messy, his expression calm but unreadable. Lily opened the door quietly, stepping out. "I looked you up." Nathan didn't flinch. "I figured." Silence stretched between them like a wire pulled tight. "Why didn't you tell me?" she asked, not angry, but something close, hurt, confused. He set the mug down, folding his hands together. "Because the moment I tell people, everything changes. I stop being a person and become a number, a headline, a prize." She stared at him, her voice trembling. "And what am I, Nathan? Just another safe house along your way to disappearing?" He stood and faced her. "No," he said. "You're the first place I've ever felt human." His voice cracked then. Not rehearsed, not calculated, raw. I walked away from everything, he continued, from the mansions, the boardrooms, the yes men, the noise. I couldn't breathe anymore. He stepped closer, eyes shining with unshed tears. I didn't come here by accident, Lily. I wasn't looking for a place. I was looking for a person, someone who didn't want anything from me. She crossed her arms, heart racing. I gave you kindness because you looked like you needed it, not because of who you were. And that's why it mattered, he said. You didn't care about my net worth. You cared that I was cold, alone, tired. His voice softened. Everyone else saw the empire. You saw the man under it. Lily didn't respond right away. Her face gave nothing away. No smile, no anger, just thought. Then finally her words came slow and deliberate. I don't care who you were, Nathan. She stepped closer, he held his breath. I care who you are now. The words landed with more weight than any check he'd ever written. In that moment he realized. He had found something worth more than all his billions. Acceptance, unfiltered, undemanding, real. And Lily, though shaken, stood there not as a woman betrayed, but as a woman offered the truth, and choosing to receive it with grace. Because beneath the silence, beneath the secrets and wealth and walls, she'd seen something in him no headline ever could. A man who was finally ready to live, honestly. It started with a photograph, a grainy cell phone picture snapped at the gas station. Nathan buying coffee in his flannel shirt, unshaven, standing beside Lily's beat-up pickup truck. The clerk hadn't meant harm, just wanted a little fame. A quick upload to social media with the words, "Pretty sure Nathan Reid is hiding out in our little town and dating a local woman?" That was all it took. The next morning, a black SUV appeared on the dirt road leading to Lily's cabin. Then another. Then came the vans. Reporters, paparazzi with telephoto lenses crouched behind bushes like wolves circling prey. And suddenly the town that had always left Lily alone had something to say. At first it was subtle. A lingering stare at the farmer's market. A stranger at the diner asking for directions while filming on their phone. Then the whispers began, thin and sharp like splinters beneath the skin. She's just using him. I bet she got pregnant on purpose. Probably some gold digger playing innocent. They didn't see the quiet mornings, the soul-deep conversations, the hours spent sharing nothing but silence and tea. All they saw was the fantasy, a billionaire falling for a woman in worn boots and hand-knit sweaters. To them, it didn't make sense. To Lily, it was beginning to feel like a crime to be loved. One Sunday after church, it got worse. Lily was walking back to her truck when Mrs. Kinsey, a woman with pearls for teeth and judgment in her eyes, approached with that brittle smile the town knew well. "Lily," she said, her voice saccharine, "I just want you to be careful, sweetheart." Lily paused. "Careful?" Mrs. Kinsey leaned in, whispered low enough to be cruel, loud enough to be heard. "People like you, don't marry people like him. Don't forget where you come from." Lily didn't answer. Her hands trembled, but she didn't flinch. She got in her truck, started the engine, and drove away without looking back. But inside, her heart shattered. Back at the cabin, Nathan knew something was wrong before she said a word. She walked in, quiet, eyes lowered, holding her coat too tightly around her. He stood from the couch, brows furrowed. "Lily?" She shook her head. "I'm fine." "Don't lie to me," he said softly. She tried to smile. Failed. Finally, her shoulders slumped. She leaned against the counter, her voice cracking. "They think I trapped you, that I don't deserve you, that I should know my place." Nathan crossed the room slowly. "They don't know you," he said. "But they think they do," she whispered. She didn't cry, but he saw it. The red in her eyes. The pressure behind her silence. These are an offer so failed in pain she had no words for. He cupped her face, gently, with both hands. "Lily," he said, his voice steady, "you gave me peace when I had nothing. When I was running from a life that almost killed me, you took me in. Without questions, without judgment." She looked up at him. "They see a man with billions and a woman with mud on her boots and think it's a fairy tale," she said. "But it's not, it's just us." He nodded. "And they'll never understand that." That night they sat by the fire, the world outside, hissing with cold wind and camera flashes from the woods. Nathan took her hand. "I don't want the old life back," he said. Not the boardrooms, not the applause. I want this. I want you. But they won't stop, she whispered. They'll dig and gossip and twist everything. He squeezed her hand tighter. Then let them. She blinked. I built a fortress once, Lily. It was made of steel and money and contracts, but it never protected me. You did, with soup and silence and trust. He leaned closer. Now I'll protect you. I'll relieve. The next day, he made a statement. A single photo released to the press taken on Lily's porch. No designer clothes, no staging. Just him, holding her hand, standing in front of the cabin with Sam the dog curled at their feet. With it, a quote. I am not lost. I am home. And the woman who found me saved more than just my life. She reminded me how to live. Some people mocked it. Some tabloids sneered. But others felt something real. And in the heart of a small town too quick to judge, a fire of love kept burning, strong and steady. Because true love, the kind built on kindness, not wealth, has a way of silencing even the coldest whispers. Eventually, Nathan wanted to take Lily away. Let's go back to the city, he said. You'll have everything. Money, art studios, a life most people only dream of. Lily looked at him and said, I already have a life I love. I don't want luxury. I want truth. He smiled. Then we stay. Nathan sold most of his shares in his company. He donated to local shelters, helped rebuild the town's school, and opened an art center in Lily's name. He chose to live simply with her, not in a mansion, but in the same quiet cabin where he found his soul again. A year later, Nathan and Lily were married under the rain, surrounded by pine trees and wildflowers. No celebrities, no golden chairs, just laughter, friends, and a town that had started to change. People slowly let go of judgment. A mixed-income community blossomed. Children who once felt invisible found places to dream. All because a millionaire knocked on a door, and a woman opened it with kindness, and the world learned a lesson it needed. Love doesn't ask about your bank account, it listens to your heart. True worth isn't measured in dollars, but in how deeply you care. True love doesn't wear a price tag. It doesn't care about status, wealth, or where someone comes from. It sees the soul, not the surface. In a world too often divided by class, race, and appearance, this story reminds us that kindness opens doors and courage keeps them open. When we stop judging by bank accounts, backgrounds, or skin color, and start seeing people for their hearts, we heal more than relationships. We heal communities. We create hope. We build a better world. Because the greatest fortune isn't money. It's love. It's dignity. It's choosing to care, even when others don't.